I'm Ryan Grove. This is my wife Tiffany Grove, and we're having conversations that question the traditional historical narratives that have been given to us in school and by pop culture, Western culture really. And I talked a lot last time, so Tiffany's going to take it away.
Well, I noticed that initially in our first talk we had talked about Harriet Tubman a little bit, but we didn't really flesh it out. Kind of got sidetracked. And so I wanted to bring up a few points about the possibility that Harriet Tubman is a creation rather than a real individual. There was an act of Congress to recognize her in 1869, and Sarah Bradford also wrote a biography on Harriet Tubman that was published in 1896. She
Oh.
was a Quaker woman, and she was from Geneva. Now, shortly after she wrote and published the book, she ended up moving to the European continent and basically disappearing from the world stage. Um, but she did have the backing of William G. Wise, who was also the one that entered the act into Congress recognizing Tubman. She had William G. Wise help her to get it published, and he also became the trustee for any funds that could be garnered from the publishing of the book. Uh, it was said that he would receive, invest, and apply for her benefit whatever may accrue from the sale of the book, but uh, most of the funds weren't readily available until after Harriet Tubman died. But although Harriet Tubman was married twice, so that her name was Harriet Tubman and possibly later on Harriet Davis, she didn't have any children, and so it's really kind of a question as to where these funds that she was supposed to have received went after her death. Who received those proceeds? So it's kind of like a GoFundMe type deal where, maybe she didn't actually benefit from what,
From her book.
yeah, if she were a real person, even. And that's my point is that the information we have about her is scanty, and we don't have any documents in reference to Harriet Tubman, but we do have uh, at least 4 documents signed as Harriet Davis, where she's doing legal filings in regard to the deaths of her husband for benefits, um, which she initially doesn't receive, and that's why they claim that they wrote the book, is in order to get some money for her. Uh, but they're signed Harriet Davis, and these are petitions that are done over a period of years between 1890 and 1895, yet each document is written in the exact same handwriting, and each signature of Harriet Davis is in the exact same handwriting. And her ex is there, uh, if she were to be illiterate, but um, it's just strange that each of the where would she get the money for the filings if she really was poor, and how do they happen to be written all in the same handwriting? It kind of makes me feel like someone was working up like a money deal. They didn't have the internet, so people couldn't double check to see how accurate or relevant different facts or documents were. And so
Sorry, you weren't in the picture. Oh.
it just, well, it doesn't matter, it's pretty dark. But
It, it, it's
so that
okay.
was that. That's that. And then I just wanted to address what you had said earlier about Harriet, the statement that is supposed to be a direct quote from Harriet Tubman that she never lost a passenger.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that was given at the 1896 women's suffrage meeting as a quote by Harriet Tubman. Uh,
So
but the question is how, if she really were a slave, how was she familiar with all the regions that she's supposed to be able to have covered and
yeah,
navigated?
yeah.
Some people then later to kind of try to continue the story or myth said, well, she was originally a spy for the Union or things like that. Um, you know, it's just things to kind of think about when we think about um, how history is interpreted. How much of that do we really have factual evidence for, and how much of it is kind of a spin? And then the last thing I kind of had was in regard to railroad tracks, they do seem to have been present before the big railroad boom, and they seem to have run parallel to streams and rivers. There's a lot of documented proof about that. And I just wanted to point out that Heron of Alexandria, 1,000 years before the Industrial Revolution, actually created a steam engine. And so,
Cool.
and we have documented proof of that. And so, it makes the idea of trains not impossible. I would think that they would, maybe that's where they get that whole steampunk concept that people use now in sci-fi, but I don't know. I don't know much about that genre, but there was a lot of tunnels. There's a lot of underground tunnels.
That's what I was saying.
Underground cities all across America.
No.
And also that this country it's proven that this country was well populated way before Columbus got here. And yes, I do think that, if the Spanish or the Portuguese or just any of the different people that had settled here before Columbus came here, they certainly could have had what we might call Roman architecture, Greco-Roman architecture, that they would have emulated, because that would be maybe kind of a standard in building. And lastly, that there's a lot of mythos about the possibility of looted treasures from Egypt and other places being found in caves in the Grand Canyon, and that the Smithsonian Institute actually is kind of hiding some of that stuff from us, just to kind of support the idea that we were a lot more primitive and didn't have the trade routes that we probably really had worldwide for centuries. And of course, if you're going to loot, you're going to try to find a different continent maybe to hide your stuff. We appropriate art from one country to another all the time during war, so why not? Why wouldn't they be doing it then? Those are some of my points.
So, as far as now, if Harriet Tubman was not real, then she obviously didn't have extensive knowledge of the railroad systems that were already here. Wait.
Oh.
But if she was real, then it's weird to think that it's weird to think that I've heard that she was familiar with travel north and south on the east, and that
it could be any number of
she was
people
one of
that actually did do those things.
She was one of
but they personified it.
She was one of a few people that actually had knowledge of where these ancient tracks actually ran, and so she was one of the few people that was in charge of actually bringing people up from the south in actual trains, is what I heard. And that's really so to recap, why would Congress, so you don't think that Congress was actually in on it, you just think that Mr. Wise decided to pass a legislation,
like a financial scheme.
Yeah, so Congress wasn't really in on it.
Not necessarily.
And so do you think that if Harriet Tubman was fake, that perhaps he found someone to be Harriet Tubman then, to speak at that women's rally that you referenced?
Well, I'm not sure if she spoke there, if they were quoting her.
Just quoting her there? I see.
Would they find someone to be Harriet Tubman? I kind of doubt it. I just think that it's really easy, since there wasn't television or media like that back then, that you could extrapolate on the story a little bit, you know, and
Well-
make it, personify it, make it a person when it really wasn't.
Well, once again, we're left with whiffs of something's up, but then we're left sitting in a bunch of confusion again. But it's something to think about. Do you have anything else you want to add for this one?
No, I don't find it confusing. What I just think about is that, you know, they say history is written by the victors, but Dane Calloway says it can also be written by the people that were defeated. You know, that they can try to weave a new history once they have the opportunity and create themselves as the victors, in the same way that in Egypt they would rub your face off of the stone wall if you were a pharaoh that they despised for whatever political reasons,
Yeah,
and pretend like you never existed, or
Sure.
that you were someone else. Remember
Hatshepsut.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they made her into a man with a beard. And they found out she was actually a woman, but I think there was only one image of her left. They had scratched her image off of most of the art and things that she had been placed on. Or
Well, it was a short one again, and it's getting so dark you can't even see us. So we're gonna end it, but we're gonna make another video really soon.